guys tell us how you started?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll tell the first part.
Sure, yeah.
So we met at UW in the master's program for civil engineering. I was studying transportation and Wade was studying water resources, so we overlapped on a GIS class. One day overheard him talking to some classmates about his music, and I didn't know him at the time, so I looked up his music, and the next class I just approached you. I was like, hey, I really like your music. I think our voices would sound really good together. Let's sing.
Tell us about your first gig. How was it?
At the time that we formed this duo, before the band actually started, I think I emailed Barboza and I was like, hey, we want to book a show at the end of the summer. That's really close. That's fine. I went to the rest of the band. I was like, all right, we have a show at the end of the summer. We need to form a band and be a band now so we can play this gig.
Yeah.
And then a really roundabout.
It's kind of like having an assignment, right? You
Yeah.
have a project deadline and all right, we need to assemble a team. Let's get this done.
And that was the point when we changed the name of the band from Wade James Phillips to Coach Phillips.
Right.
It was at that show.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Wait, why is it changed to Coach Phil?
Because it used to be, so
Back up.
I share a name with a famous NFL coach. So we formed this rock band, and it wasn't very singer-songwritery anymore. So we were we bounced around a bunch of other band name ideas, and
Yeah.
nothing really stuck.
Yeah. But the reason why it's Coach Phillips is because a lot of our first EP is a lot of Wade's solo music. And so the band is kind of the full band version of his solo stuff.
What's your guys' writing process like?
That's interesting. We just recorded a full-length album last summer, and that was actually a lot of songs that were old still. But with the full band, I feel like a lot of it is me jamming with our drummer Chet, and he actually has a master's degree in saxophone performance, so he brings this music theory perspective that I don't have.
Yeah, he's very technical.
And it helps inform a song in a different way. And then we usually workshop vocal lines together.
Yeah.
So it's like a roundabout.
It's kind of in pieces.
Yeah, in pieces.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But the bass line is you have, I feel like you tend to write lyrics really easily, but then while you're writing lyrics, you think of a melody at the same time too.
Yeah, often. Yeah.
And then I'll just listen to the melody and figure out some harmony.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The VHS dating song, I saw you guys posted that. We have a music video for it, and I was just kind of noticing the other day that I think that's the only song that we wrote with the music video in mind before the song. We had this idea for a music video based on this this viral YouTube video.
Hi, I'm Maurice. I'm an executive by day and a wild man by night.
And then the song kind of just came up after one rehearsal.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Maurice. I'm an executive by day and a wild man by night.
As a joke song. I come from a mostly vocal, choir, chorale background, so a lot of the music that I like is has a very heavy voice focus, I guess, vocal focus.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we have a couple of covers that are pretty similar to the music that I listen to on a regular basis, Soccer Mommy, J-Som, Metric.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of girl rock vibes. We tend to change the set list depending on who else is playing on the bill too, just to match their vibe.
I think that's something we kind of struggle with when we went to record this last summer. We did a lot of acoustic-centric takes, which is a little bit different than what we sound like live. Mm-hmm. But I feel like that was more of the heart of what the project started as.
Yeah.
So I think we kind of enjoy this amorphous quality
Yeah,
in some
fun.
ways of matching other bands, and it's kind of interesting because we've gotten to play with a lot of bands over the last year. Like we played a show with like, we did a toy drive show at Chop Suey with like Monster Watch and Beverly Crusher and these like bands that we've been listening to for a while and are like, these are like pretty like loud bands, and then like Coach Phillips rolls in and we can play loud too. And then we can also play like a solo acoustic set and like, or a duo acoustic set with like other artists. So we kind of enjoy that like flexibility. I think. Sometimes it could backfire, but
we'll often create sets that have like one too many songs or two too many songs, and then we'll kind of switch them out depending on like how we like read the audience. You know, if they're like feeling it, then we might do something more shreddy, but if it's like, you know, not as many people or like it's quieter or something, then we might choose to omit a song or we also rehearse like we're kind of procrastinators when it comes to rehearsals, so like a lot of them are on the fly decisions.
Yeah.
You guys have like any set goals in mind or anything you guys want to achieve?
Got to release this second album.
Yeah, we got to put this album out.
Second album.
Yeah.
First LP.
Yeah.
Our first album is an EP.
The major goal of this year was to release that. We haven't publicly announced the release yet, but we're looking possibly in spring. And then hopefully to tour. We actually haven't played outside of Washington as a band.
I would like to write more songs.
Yeah.
I've been dabbling in lyrics.
I think that's another goal for this year, is to write more songs. We've been playing the same batch of songs since we really formed as a band, with a few ideas floating around. It still feels fresh. It still kind of feels fresh to us. Yeah, I think. So we kind of stick with like indie rock, which is like sounds vague, but we've played a bunch of shows where people are like, "Oh, you guys are like true indie rock." Like, like
what is true indie rock?
Yeah, which doesn't. I mean, we're not like grunge. We're not really pop music. So it's kind of cool to see the range of artists that we get compared to from time to time. It also, like, our album, I feel like, sounds pretty different than when we play live too, because, you know, an album can, like, it can be more produced, right? So it sounds very full and like orchestral in a lot of instances. But then when we play live, like, it can be like, if Wade wants to bring his slide out, it'll sound more country-ish or like more twangy. So somebody's called us jangle pop at one point. WUOG in Georgia called us post-country.
Post-country?
Like, so we kind of just like have stuck onto the indie rock thing. 'Cause it's like, we're an unsigned band. We self-recorded, we self-produced and released our album. So it's, in that sense, it's definitely like, we kind of like that label, I think. Versus post-country, but
How do you like the music scene in Seattle?
Oh.
Yeah,
it's good.
Rad.
So good. So like welcoming. In my experience, anyway.
I guess I moved to Seattle before I was at UW, and I had like one other thing that I always think of is like, I had like one gig that I got on Craigslist that was like playing in a World of Beer, which is actually not even. It was in Capitol Hill, but it's like, that was my only gig every month, was like playing covers for 3 hours in a World of Beer. And it like paid me, and I was just like practicing music. So I think in a sense, like moving to Seattle, it's kind of like, it takes time to like integrate into the music scene, but there's just so much music and so many cool bands. And so many like house venues and like.
House venues for sure. It's great because I feel like Seattle's like, just businesses like cafes and things like that, they're like really open to having more events and like bands playing. I didn't really feel that as much when I was in California. I'm from the Bay Area in California, but since moving up to Seattle too, almost 3 years ago, it's been like, I found that there's a lot more community that embraces music, just like in any sort of setting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, whether it's in like a bar or like a cafe or like an actual venue.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Are y'all
Shoot.
excited for Winterfest?
Yeah.
so excited.
Yeah, it's a really sweet lineup that you guys put together.
Yeah, it's so hype.
Yeah. Yeah.
So thank you for having us.
Yeah, no problem.
See you Saturday.
She'll be scared.